Hey all, welcome to this live broadcast. I am Paul Millard. I'm the creator of Strategy U, and I am coming to you live here. I want to experiment with having a little more fun with this channel and getting out there and answering questions. One of the things that I get a lot of inspiration from is answering questions from people. This is the way I come up with things to write about, things to create, things to test. And one of the biggest sources I have for this is working with some of the clients. I pulled that up. Yeah, so working with clients, talking with people, and coaching people through my course and stuff. But this is another way to just see what people's questions are. So I assume we are going to start slow here. Um, and we will gear up from there. So, what questions do you have? It looks like we have one person in the audience. Happy to talk about anything strategy consulting related, industry. What is it like working in there? I love talking about how do you actually do the work? How do you do great work? How do you turn information into insights, information into ideas, information into stories? But also happy to talk about recent news like the business news, stuff about McKinsey, things like that. Would love to hear what questions you have. I think I'm pointing in the right direction over there. So drop your comments. I will grab them and we will see what we can chat about today. Um, One thing, I have a bunch more interviews coming up. Actually have an interview with Tom Peters coming up, which should be pretty fun. He is a former McKinsey consultant. He wrote the book In Search of Excellence. And I love how that came about. Basically, he was just a weirdo in the San Francisco office and started exploring these ideas and ended up writing a book. I wrote about that in my essay about the industry called Too Big to Think, in which I argue the current strategy consulting industry is very unlike where it came from in the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, in which it was really a place to explore interesting ideas. Um, but yeah, the consulting industry is super interesting for me, and um, yeah, love talking about these things. Um, let's see. All right, we have four people now. Welcome. I am Paul Miller, the creator of this channel. I talk about strategy consulting, consulting problem solving, storytelling, PowerPoint, things like that. I'm trying to have more fun here. Um, Easiest way for you to help me is drop questions. I don't know where I'm pointing over here. Um, just let me know what you want me to talk about. I love riffing on different topics. Um, but I need your questions. We have four of you in the chat now, and let me know what you think. I will kick it off with what are these? Like new emojis in the chat. Interesting. Yeah. So, what's on people's minds? What do you want to talk about today? Video requests too. Would love to hear video requests. Recently did a couple videos on like why I left the industry, which seemed to get a good response. I'll link up to that one. Let's see. Um, yeah, why I left the industry. That video there linked. I'm gonna start a poll. What topics do you want to talk about? These scandals. Let's see what else. Um, all right, just posted a poll. Maybe y'all can answer. The poll will be easier. Let's see. Feel like the video quality is a little laggy. Um, how are people finding it? Guess it's fine for now. All right, we have one vote for consulting skills. Um, let's see. I'm gonna talk about the pyramid principle. Actually, started a multi-part book review on the pyramid principle. I'm gonna pull that up. Let's see. Screen two. Yeah, so let's see. I can make that a little better. Yeah, so I started this book review on the pyramid principle. I'm writing about all four parts. I need to finish this. But I love how Minto talks about um see your question, Alyssa. We'll get to this in a second. Um, Evaluating Minto's fundamental claims, the mind automatically sorts information into distinctive pyramidal groupings in order to comprehend it. I don't know if I completely agree with this. I think it's more like when you sort information into pyramidal groupings, it's easier to flow into the brain, which is why I think these tactics and tools are so powerful. Um, and she just has a lot of interesting quotes in this. I love this is very British. To sequence them instead so the mind has to go backward and forward to make connections is simply bad manners. A lot of what she talks about in this book is really about like how do you flow ideas in a way that is logical and like the way I frame it to clients I teach with, way to clients I coach is that if an external party has like friction, like the way to think about this is like as you're consuming something, does your mind have to like start working and put pieces together? If it has to do that, the message needs work and needs improvement. Hey, Greg, thanks for joining. Um, yeah, so Alyssa, um, this is too broad of a question. So, like in this question, I think it's worth talking about that um, you will likely like this is a red flag for me, this question, because it's not the right question. And what they're looking for at McKinsey is people that understand how to ask the right question, right? So this to me is a level too high of a question. Is there tips to ace an interview for McKinsey? Now, there are tips to be better at like 15, 20 different things, right? Um, so I can't really answer this question. I would go back to you and say, like, what specifically are you struggling with? What are you actively working on now, such that I can give you better advice on a very specific thing? And this is the thing I learned at McKinsey is like when you're giving feedback, ask people what they're actually trying to get better at. What are you trying to get better at? How can I specifically offer feedback on this to help you improve in this direction? Um, General advice is that like people put a ton of practice and prep into it. I think the most valuable prep you can get is former consultants really pushing and challenging you. Like I've helped multiple people land jobs at McKinsey. And often when I'm giving them a mock interview, I'm brutal, like very tough, very challenging. What I want to help them simulate is a really rough interview experience. And then at the end, they still survive it, such that when they go into the interview, the interviewers at these firms are actually pretty nice. They don't try to catch you or gotcha, such that you're prepared and you don't get thrown off by somebody asking direct or challenging questions. Um, Fit interview. I think it's not about preparing questions. Like, this is where too many people, when they're trying to break into a company, think about how do I map into what they want? That's not the way to think about it. The way to think about it is how do you, Greg, like tell your story, right? So one thing, like basic thing I make everyone do who's interviewing for any type of job, write down 10 stories. Every story should have a hook, which is a one line. Here's what happened. Here's why it matters. And then there's the detail, right? From those 10 stories. And like most people just don't do this. Basically, you just need to write it down and like write out your story, practice reading it. 10 stories. Take those 10 stories, try label them the themes of each story, and then figure out what are those themes. So then you're moving up a level of abstraction further. You might have like 3 or 4 themes. Greg is somebody that's an exceptional learner. Here's how I can prove it through this story, right? And then from those themes, you need like your overall story so that you're taking what they expect, putting your story and saying, hey, here's the actual story. I'm going to map it up to what you're expecting, but I'm going to tell it on my terms and in my way. So, what we're talking about with that is um, you're saying things like, hey, I'm an exceptionally top tier learner. Now, you probably have multiple people telling you that, but here's something that's going to make me stand out. This specific story of when I went super deep on this, I taught people, I built this whole thing, I went down this rabbit hole. I want to bring this experience to your firm, and even better, in this specific area, I'm super passionate about this area. I read these 10 articles of people at your firm working on this. I think there's an opportunity here. Like the part I'd want to push further that I don't think is perfect is this. Um, so you're coming with substance. And that's the biggest downfall I see in people that interview for jobs in general, even consulting, is like they just want to be picked and they're just trying to like fit into what they think they're supposed to be doing rather than just like leading with the like energy and aliveness of who they are and what they're bringing to the table. Let's see. What other questions do people have? Um, Typically 3 to 4 sentences, as long as you need. Like the key here is just to dump out the stories. Everyone has experiences from school, from work, from personal life. What are they? What are the things that the way to think about this is after you've been interviewed, that person then goes into a room. They've probably interviewed 10 people. So immediately they almost forget everything about you. When the person goes around and says, what did you think about Greg? What do you want them to say? Right. So you need to think about what is memorable. What are they going to be able to communicate to others once they're in that room? Right. So 2 to 4 sentences. The themes should be organic. Like you're noticing what the stories are actually about. So there's no like right answer. You need to get that out of your head. There's no correct answer. What are the themes that are like your strengths, your skills? Now, you don't want to be good at um nursing, right? Like you it needs to be relevant to like the business world and business problem solving and consulting. But yeah, what are the stories that tell the story that you want others to communicate after the interview? That's how I think about it. Let's see. Cool. Other questions. What else we got? Seems like my connection's a little shaky. It's kind of weird. Should be fine, but again, too general of a question. Um, Later rounds tend to focus more on fit. First, they're just like screening, right? They're just saying, does this person have the raw horsepower, interest? They're just screening people out. So if you've made it to the second, you're probably doing a good job. Um, Also, these things are a crapshoot. If you're interviewing at the best firms, like when I applied, I would have taken a job at any consulting firm. I find a lot of young people only want to work at the top firms. I don't understand that personally. Like, if you really want to work in consulting, why wouldn't you just want to work in any firm? Um, but yeah, it's very competitive. So, like, a lot of times, like, you getting rejected might not be actual signal of you not being a fit. I was a really good consultant. I was a really good, like, part of a consulting firm. Like, I was really good at the work, not a good interviewer. And I got rejected multiple times before I didn't. So, yeah, just something to think about. Alrighty. I might wrap. My voice is getting a little sore, but this is fun. I might do some more of these in the future. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can over here. Um, I think, yeah. And then should be able to hit the alerts too, just for when I'm doing more of these. So yeah, thank you for um yeah, I'm probably dating myself. Like, they didn't start using Alteryx and Tableau until like 2015. Um but I played around with those, didn't use them in depth. I was more on the functional side of consulting, so didn't do as much hardcore data analysis. I did like organizational change, communication stuff, talent, um, things like that. But I use some of these tools now. It's changing fast though. It's pretty wild. The AI tools are mind blowing. Um, would you say the biggest skills you gain from the industry? I wrote an article about this, so I'm just gonna link it. Um, Skills. Let me find this article. Yeah, I'll just pull this up. Let's see. Share screen. Yeah, so epistemic humility. Um, this is like thinking probabilistically. So um, thinking about what you're doing from a like probability standpoint. Like, I have 30% confidence in this take, right? Too many people, like, the way people talk in the world, the way the media portrays things is that people think it's like decisions are A or B. Often it's much more probabilistic in terms of like, okay, what should we do? Should we acquire this company? It's more like the role of consultant is to take a company from like 30% confidence to 60% confident, right? So that's what you're doing. Also, just comfort with uncertainty, I think, is a big one. Um, that's a big one. Yeah. Synthesis, the stuff with like pyramid principle, basically taking like disconnected, disparate ideas, connecting them. Um, Structured writing skills for sure. Creativity. The constraints of like working within a deck and working within a structure of a consulting project are actually pretty powerful. So yeah. Um, Personal and professional stories. For freelancing, do you mean? I'm not sure what this means. Um, personal and professional stories. I don't know what that means. Um, yeah, I'll link up to that article I just shared as well. Um, First year finance and MIST major. I don't know what MIST is. Um, and wondering what the best starting summer internships would have in your resume. The best internships would be to work in consulting or do some sort of consulting thing, strategy groups at big companies. Generally, just interested about the business world. Your first summer, yeah, just try stuff, do whatever you can, even if you have to work for free. Try to break in. It's a competitive industry. It's the reality of it. Um, yeah, these kind of questions, though, there's no best, right? I interned in manufacturing, yeah, at in like an engineering role at a big um, company, Pratt and Whitney, but I didn't get a job right out of college either. um, I mean, there's a lot of humor, but um, it's more just the ridiculousness of the conversation. Like when you're out of that world, it seems bizarre. Like it was even bizarre to me at the time. Like some people love the jargon. They love the like phrases like let's punt on this, right? Like the phrases from sports people use, let's punt, let's I I don't even remember all these things. Let's table this till the next minute. Like all these things sort of like made me crack up. Like I was never wired to use this language, but some people just absorb it. And I mean, those are the people wired to be like senior consultants and partners. I didn't buy in enough to all the hoopla. Um, I think it hit home for me when I was at BCG, which was like 2 full-time years at McKinsey, then, um, probably like 3 more full-time years. I worked at another firm in between then, but it was about 5 years in which I was working on this project and, like, I started to, like I didn't know where the next iteration or version of like what I was working on would end up or how to get there. But I sort of had this inner trust as like, oh, I just need to like look at the document, move around stuff, and like ideas will emerge. I kind of like it was a cool state. Like it was exciting too. It's like when you finally arrive at like being good at something you've sort of just been like fumbling through and like faking your way through. That was really cool. So it was about 5 years of full-time work experience, I'd say. And then your journey only begins, right? Because you know you have those skills. You can start designing your work and life around those skills, and you just keep trying to get better at them or leveraging them in different ways, different contexts. As a freelancer, like I'm good at those skills, but like the territory of like what I need to navigate is way broader, right? When I'm working with a client, often working with like executives. So like a CEO or like a senior type of executive. And I'm trying to like map everything I'm doing into like their whole organization. I might also be executing on something, doing hands-on work for them at the same time. So it's a never-ending journey. And this is the thing, like, if you want to break in and do consulting, if you're wired for it, you will eventually succeed if you don't give up. Because most people are not wired for it. Like the mental game of being in the industry, plus like the combo of like actually just liking the underlying skills. I love synthesizing information. So this stuff was natural for me. And that's why I was able to stay in the industry almost 9 years. You don't need to explain this. Everyone at McKinsey knows why you're applying there. Um, it's better to talk about things you're excited that McKinsey is doing. McKinsey's doing so many things now. Go on the website, look at the practices, look at the leaders, look at the partners, look at what they're writing about. Try to find like 3 to 5 things you're really excited about that you'd want to work on. So you don't say, "Oh, I want to work at McKinsey for the opportunities." Everyone working at McKinsey knows that. That's why they're there, right? You don't want to tell the company things they already know about themselves. You want to use this as a way to make yourself stand out again. So find things that they're working on that you're excited about. McKinsey solutions, data analytics, digital transformation, other things they're doing in different industries. Find the things that excite you, lead with that, tie it to what they are working on. Um, Ultimately, everyone at McKinsey knows you're also interviewing at Bain and BCG, so it's not a big deal. Cool. Any other questions? If not, we will likely wrap. This is fun. I'm going to be doing more of these. Please subscribe. Um, Thanks, Greg. Um, some say I'm knowledgeable. Yeah, I mean, you can find my email. Just check out my site. It's linked and paul at strategyu.co. Pretty easy to find. Um, Not a star. I'm just curious and keep remaining curious. And I'm crazy enough to um, not work in the industry. So I lose all my time. So yeah, that's my game. Yeah, always happy to answer questions. I love hearing questions, and then I often feature them in my newsletter, which you can subscribe to as well. I will post that link as well. Watching the videos for a few years. Nice, Noah. Noah, what should I be creating? I don't. What videos do people want? Or is it more like just keep creating videos? I don't know what I want. Would love to hear recommendations. Um, Hold on. Sure. Oops. All right, just I don't know why that doesn't work. It's yeah, that's the link. It like highlights strategy U in orange. That's weird. Yeah. Any final questions? I'll give it 30 seconds. Otherwise, we will wrap. Cool. Thank you. Have a good day.